Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to part 2 of Day 9, daily number 336, where we are admiring Rhett's incredibly beautiful play. In part 1, we talked a little bit about why he is so just good and a little bit about his style. And we looked in particular at his first game against Thorzain in the winner's bracket finals of the Blizzard EU Invitational and how he set himself up brilliantly for the mid-game. If we just take a look at his game state, he's getting a third at a fairly reasonable time, not ultra fast. If you want to do that ultra fast, generally you cut the layer and get a Roach Warren style Nestea popularized quite a bit, and that Losira uses quite a bit. But in addition to that, we do see that LiquidRet has been doing, has gotten this 4th hatchery up, so that's definitely helping a huge amount with all of his gameplay. We see the upgrades incoming, we see a lot of drones. It's just a nice stepping point. And now comes in his brilliant decision making. I would say, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I would just say that there is not a human being in the world who can mess up just building Zerglings, Banelings, and Mutalisks. It's pretty damn straightforward. But it's using them that is quite hard. Many people feel that ZVT is easy because if you just get like 40 Banelings and a bunch of Zerglings and have some Mutalisks there, you can win. And though it is true that the Mutalisk Zergling Baneling composition has a lot of intuitive elements to it, once you are playing someone who is as good as freaking Thorzain, the Team Liquid Star League winner, then you have to begin playing a step up. So Rhett, per usual, we now see, now we're starting to see once again that this early third queen, where is that queen? Where did that bitch go? Where is she? There's one. Where's the second queen? Did it get killed? No, yes, it still has 3 queens. You know, I've rewatched this replay before, so this is... Where the hell is she? Okay, well, I'm just not going to make the point then. By showing the queen, I'm going to show in the production tab. Remember that early third queen we used to defend with these spine crawlers? How we used her to help block this ramp? Yeah, well, what we can easily do is we can bring her back to this hatchery, to this third hatch. We're not just getting a third queen as something to temporarily help us and then forgetting about her. No, she's going to be useful all game long. I can't believe I can't find her, that poor thing.
The hive cluster is under attack.
But we see Rhett just now beginning to make Zerglings amazingly at 11 minutes. He's done making drones. He's done. He has an amazing amount of saturation at all his bases. Look at the Nat. Look at the main. His drones are under attack, you guys. And there she is. You were hiding from me, weren't you? Dastardly queen. But either way, getting the usual +1 attack upgrade, and we see some movement around. You'll note that these Mutalisks have not really poked into the back yet. They've only briefly come by the sides, but again, Zergling's getting really active, knocking down those rocks. And we're going to see some great positioning. Notice how Rhett has control groups 5 for his hatch, 6, 7, 8 as his queens. And then he has Mutalisks as 1, Zerglings as 2, 3 and 4 are open. Very open. Completely open, you guys. And immediately we see control group 2. He doesn't have a lot of Zerglings. He actually has 17. Here are, he has 20 Zerglings total. And here are 17 of them. Immediately just swings right around for a counterattack. And the push, though it's coming up here right now, and it looks like a dire situation, LiquidRet is putting quite a bit of pressure on Thorzain. We see the continued repositioning. Mutalisk hopping up to the top. And notice the patience. This is another big aspect of controlling Mutalisk Zergling well. Again, everyone can make the Mutalisk, everyone can make the Zergling Baneling, but here we go, he's going to be coming around to the back and waiting until the last possible second. All the drones have been pulled off. But a nice, clean, easy defense just from waiting until the very last second. He's just going to continue to play this out normally, adding on a ton of frickin' larvae. And now Rhett is in a clear commanding position. So we can speed the game up just a little bit. But we're going to see Rhett, every time he has Mutalisk going one way, you see the Zerglings are also staying active on the map, moving around to the right side to spot this ugly little Hellion. And also getting ready to try to whack away at these rocks. Here's the Mutalisk coming in, very easy, obvious, still whacking away at the rocks. And again, if any push moves out the front that we will see with this Zergling, we can immediately counterattack with this small group. Our main rally point, where all our hatches are planted, is actually over here. But still, nonetheless, we see these Zerglings positioned at the opposite end of the screen. Notice that these are at opposite ends. He can get a lot more control. He doesn't even have to counterattack. When these units spread here, he can even reposition these Zerglings behind them. Also, this expand, we knocked down those rocks so long ago, and now we're finally taking this expansion. This is great. Notice that his expansions are spread out. This is not actually a good place to expand, because Terran simply walks here, kills this, keeps walking, and there's another expansion right here. But Terran now has to decide between this expansion or this one. Spread your expansions out when you have a very mobile force. This is true for Ling Muta. It's also true for something like Blink Stalkers. A very, very mobile force allows you to expand a little bit more spreadly. And these Mutalisks are not really doing amazing stuff. I mean, they maybe killed off a couple of turrets, whatever. But now Rhett is, again, getting upgrades, getting all those things that players usually do. Had that amazing, amazing early game. It's going to continue to apply pressure. And we see him still making a lot of Mutalisks, now making another round of drones. Just to add barely enough there. I think it's a real danger at this point to overproduce when you get this 5th hatch. What generally works out a little bit better is just to transfer these drones over and just to spread your mineral drones a little more thinly. And to focus on collecting mostly gas, because you want your army to be more and more gas-based over time. Zergling is positioned for a counterattack. Very uncommon, despite the fact that it seems dead obvious that you should do it. Mutalisks poking around the fringes, never trying to suicide in to get workers. Notice here that we see the bright fog, that he can't look here, and then we see the dark fog, which means that he has never even been at this part of the map ever. He's literally never harassed any workers. I actually think if we go to the workers killed tab, Rhett's killed 4. The Mutalisks are about repositioning this Terran army. Also in the unit counting station, we see 3 Banelings. It's just Muta Ling at this point. The instant he thinks he has freedom to hit these destructible rocks, he does it. He's aggressively trying to kill these off, committing a lot of resources to it. Again, this expansion doesn't have that many drones. Rhett really should refocus and grab that base. Still just Zerglings and Mutalisks. How many Banelings? Well, 3 and 121 frickin' Zerglings. And now he's maxed. Totally. And this is where he begins the larva stockpile. Now, Thorzain is quite good, actually remarkably good, at just sitting on 3 bases and putting a lot of pressure on. Some Zerglings will end up sweeping over here to take this out, but notice small amounts of Zerglings. It's not all his Zerglings down on the south side. Most are here with the Banelings. The Mutalisks swing to the left side. Every time the Mutalisks swing to the left side, here comes the counterattack for the right. Great tactical maneuvering, and if he feels a little bit of pressure, he just pops right back out again. Now we're starting to mass up Banelings. Just bouncing back and forth. The Zerglings desperately want to kill that off. But it's just good base management for Rhett. He's getting kind of a late hive. But this is still optimal. This is still how you want to play it off. Still back down to 76 drones. Trying to pick off anything you can. This is a little bit risky. But this goes to show you the value of this rock being down, of aggressively creating counter-attack routes for yourself. Counter-attack routes is the word I want to stick out in your head. He's creating more and more counter-attack routes with this mobile army. And from this point, he's macroing as best he can. His energy's getting kind of high. His money's also getting a little high, but he's maxed, so that's expected. But just continues to peel open these counterattack routes. Do you realize that Thorzain has really not even gotten a chance to push all game long? There was like 1 attempt at it up at the top. But now here comes Rhett. Easy peasy, cleany uppy. And honestly, the reason Thorzain was pinned was because of these Zerglings constantly working here. The Mutalisks just generally going through this area, occasionally poking down here, but just mainly staying up at the 3rd, down here at the back. Thorzain was constantly repositioned. And I really think that a lot of this is credited to the fact that Rhett gets those Mutalisks up so quickly and then uses very few Banelings in his defense. Still we don't see that many Banelings at this phase in the game. Just now getting some. And when you're this far in the lead, yeah, you're going to get the Spire to do a little cleanup. But quite often, actually this game just has 20 more seconds, so we'll just go ahead and speed up. Brett's overwhelming, he's overwhelming, he's overwhelming, he's overwhelming, blah, 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 blah. Great, 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 great. Swinging in, another beautiful attack. Isn't that gorgeous? Winning with Zergling Baneling. Now, I want you to just embrace this moment right here. LiquidRet has just won this position in the game with only ever building Mutalisks, Zerglings, and Banelings. This is all he has ever built, and really not that many Banelings. Yeah, sure, we do have the Greater Spire coming up to get them Brood Lords to be able to do dat damage and win dat game easily. But he's just won with Mutalisk, Zergling, Baneling. This is not exploited enough, the Muta-Baneling Zergling composition, for peeling the opponent's defenses in awkward spots. If we actually come back a little bit earlier in the game, right when we see Thorzain expanding, and we start looking at how his army is positioned, yeah, we have some Thors and Mutas coming here. The Mutas positioning themselves. We see all the Zerglings over here at the back. So Thorzain has tanks here to deal with this. He has some Marines here to also defend against the Mutas. We see the rally point for Thorzain is on this tank. We see a couple more units up here as he's trying to defend. And he even has more units here at the back. Zergling Baneling Muta generally gets mauled in direct confrontations. Generally. Sure, you can get your opponent out of position and counter them all. But almost always, if you just have Mutalisks, Zerglings, and Banelings trundling forward at a well-positioned, full Terran army, it loses. So what Rhett does is he exploits the fact that he's peeling the army thinly in all sorts of different directions. And now all of a sudden we see all the units trying to pull back, but still a Thor and some tanks remain. Still we have these two tanks here. Thorzain's army is not quite well pulled together, and it's that manipulation, all those counterattacks, those small little bits of forces, that make it very tough to deal with properly. We're going to hop into Game 2. It's going to be on MLG Metalopolis. Come on, load! StarCraft froze, I think. Well, whatever. We're going to go into the second game. Oh, no, wait. Here it is. It's loading up. It's loading up! There we go. Now it's going to be popping in. So we're going to look at the same basic idea in this next game. It's going to be on Metalopolis yet again. And let's take some time to just oogle over LiquidRet's openings and how strong it is. And this is the... is this MLG? It doesn't have supply depots. There's generally supply depots at the bottom of the ramp, but of course Thorzain being the studious fellow that he is. Notices this. Thorzain going for the fast gas opening, LiquidRet going for the expand. Again, notice that he's building an extra drone before he builds his spawning pool. Drones are good, man. Never underestimate dem drones. Here comes the, again, slightly late extractor. And what do you know? It's a Reaper opening. No longer are we up against the ever so scary double Hellion build. Terran knows exactly where Zerg is. Zerg, Rhett's always very good about this, just bringing the smallest amount of drones that he can. Very few drones. Do we see any Zerglings coming out? No, absolutely not. Just drones. He's comfortable that his Queenies can defend well enough. Pulls everything back. Sends to build. And look at this, just pulling back. Not really overreacting. And we see a total of 3 workers have been killed off. Tries to swing around. It looks like he will get a few more. But I want you just to watch what is getting constructed in all of this. This can feel very frustrating, but you have to accept that a Reaper kills barracks production for a long time. Like, this barracks is tied up for a full 45 seconds while it's building that Reaper. That means his factory has even been delayed for a huge amount of time. And oh, Thorzain going for the dreaded Blue Flame. Nothing but drones. In the unit production station, only drones. He still stayed even with Terran. And here come out more workers. Okay, he is ahead now. And we're seeing Rhett not really missing any larva injects. He is spreading creep at the front of his base once again. The really fast layer comes up once again. Here's a spine crawler. Have you noticed right now that Rhett has really done nothing but build drones? He's still getting himself his very fast speed. He's still getting himself his very fast layer. And the dreaded Blue Flame Hellion drop could be incoming. All Thorzain needs to do is build a reactor. Oh, he's building a tech lab. Alack, 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 alas. A second spine crawler going down. A very nicely timed spine crawler. Just now beginning those zerglings. Remember, 3 extractors finished right when our layer's finished. Where's your mutas? Where's your spire? Wow, Rhett actually... Did he make an overseer or something? It looks like he is not yet using his layer. There's the spire going down a little later than normal, but Rhett is one of those players who's also said many times he always values building with the larva first. And it's very easy to get in this habit with all the races of convincing yourself that there's something you need to be doing other than just your basic building of stuff. You know, someone who gets 3 barracks and thinks, okay, I can build 5 Marines at a time because I have 2 reactors. But you know what, I'm just going to build 4 Marines so I can sneak in this engineering bay and get some upgrades. Or, you know, let me cut workers for a second so I can get this factory up a little faster. As it turns out, almost always, it's better to be just building stuff and never forgetting those workers, ever. Like, it just ends up working out. Sure, we could sit down and do the math, but that is not the purpose of this daily. It's once again to admire how extremely Gosu LiquidRet is. And how everything is so wonderful about its gameplay. And again, we have this similar theme of not that many zerglings. Now he's making a lot of zerglings up. And the instant the pressure's gone, he goes back to droning. LiquidRet is so bold with building them drones. And this is, I think, one of the hallmarks of his style. He never really gets more than 16 zerglings at the start of the game. And he is completely defensively positioned. You have not seen any movement out in the middle of the map. It's easy to put some zerglings here and some zerglings here and to try to really aggressively scout this thing, but this is really the only place where there is a forward zergling, as I would put it. The rest of the time, it's a well-positioned overlord, making sure of what towers he's controlling, an overlord prepared to waltz into the opponent's base. But the rest of the time, it's all defensive positioning. Of course, until he gets his huge pack of Mutalisks out. Baneling Nest, there's a 3rd hatch. Wow, going down at the expansion, a little bit easier to defend those 3rd bases, but easy timing. You get your Spire ridiculously fast, and you follow it up with the Baneling Nest right on its heels. It's just a good platform. We're up against something completely different, and we've still seen Rhett not really deviate too much from this massive amount of droning that he does. Someone may ask the question, why didn't he build 3 queens in this game? He did build 3 in the other game, and the answer is that on Backwater Gulch, well, 2 reasons. On Backwater Gulch, if you're up against Hellions, you can easily contain with the 3 queen, 1 spine crawler. And the biggest reason why we don't see it in game 2, we didn't see the double Hellion play at all. So Rhett got the chance to not build queen number 3 and instead built tons of larva at the start of the game. We saw Rhett cut quite a bit of larva injects in game 1, but in game 2, when he's up against this Reaper build, he just says, oh, okay, well, I'm not really going to be up against that much pressure. I mean, a queen can easily defend against that, so I'll just do that, and I'll be spending tons on injects. We see exactly 1 creep tumor at the front. In the last game, we saw 3 creep tumors at the front. Big differences that we're seeing here. Again, we're going to go into a break right now. We're going to go into part number 3, the final part. We're going to wrap up this game 2 between Rhett and Thorzain, take some questions, and announce what will be coming up in the near future. So whatever you do, don't go away. My name is Day 9, and I'm wrapping this up, wrapping this up, wrapping this up. Ba-dum-dum-dum-dum.